You and Your English, Spoken English and Broken English, G.B. Shaw. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe more about the complications of spoken English by the way of the author Bernard Shaw, analyze the theme and comprehend the essay. To begin with, let us know about the author George Bernard Shaw. He was an Irish playwright and a co-founder of the London School of Economics. He was one of the most famous English authors after William Shakespeare and was very famous for his witty quotations and wordplay. Although his first profitable writing was music and literary criticism, he has written many highly articulate pieces of journalism. He was famous for his drama and has written more than 60 plays. He was also an essayist, novelist, and a short story writer. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1925 and the Oscar for the Best Screenplay in 1938. Bernard Shaw was the first person to win a Nobel Prize and an Oscar award together. Nearly all his writing addressed social problems with a vein of comedy which made their stark themes more palatable. The word palatable is used here to describe his writings. This means acceptable or satisfactory. The different character and personality traits of G.B. Shaw were socialist, cynic, liberal, Fabian, critical, observant, educated, essentially unorganized, excellent public speaker, believer of class equality, honest. Now, let us listen to his famous radio talk about spoken and broken English, which was recorded in 1927. The talk was broadcasted over Manhattan's radio station, WNew. It was a part of the series talks called A Treasury of the Spoken World. The recording was done using Linguaphone in 1927. The points demonstrated or stressed on his recordings can be divided into 4 basic ideas. They were: advantages in learning to speak well, no such thing as ideally correct English, the confession of Bernard Shaw, an advice to foreign students of English. First, let us learn about the advantages in learning to speak well. Bernard Shaw says that when we travel in the English-speaking countries, we have to speak English in a precise manner, which shows sophistication and higher level of education. As the British people can easily differentiate between a Cockney accent and the learned ones, the person with a Cockney accent will have a tough chance in getting a job owing to his accent. Cockney English refers to the accent or dialect of English, traditionally spoken by working-class Londoners. Secondly, let us move to the next idea. There is no such thing as ideally correct English. Shaw states that there is no such thing as perfect English. It keeps varying between dialects of the natives of different areas. As said, no two British people speak exactly alike. Even educated persons, the poet laureate in the committee, and trained speakers do not pronounce some of the simplest and the commonest words in the English exactly alike. Also, the members of the committee, who were selected as models for correct speech, also speak the words differently. They differ according to the area or the country they grew up. That is, even if it is a completely English-speaking country, the accent and dialects vary according to their region where it is spoken. Now, let us hear the confession of Bernard Shaw. Bernard Shaw confesses that he himself does not speak English in the same way every time. If he were to speak carefully to his wife at home, she would think he was going mad. So at home, he speaks to his wife like mumbling. As a public speaker, he has to take care of every word he says as it is heard distinctly at far end of large hall containing thousands of people. Let us further move on to the advice given to the foreign students of English by G.B. Shaw in his usual satirical way. Do not try to speak English perfectly, because native speakers of English won't understand. He also said the foreigners not to worry about their accent, as most of the Londoners who have a bad accent as per the stringent high BBC English standards. No foreigner can ever stress the right syllables and make the voice rise and fall in for questions and answer, assertion and denial, in refusal and consent, in inquiry or information, exactly the way a native speaker does. Therefore, the first thing they have to do is to speak with a strong foreign accent and speak broken English. Thus, Bernard Shaw criticizes that it is an insult to the native speakers of English who cannot understand his own language when it is spoken too well. Next, we shall learn the comprehension questions and answers. What is the advantage in learning to speak well? A person speaking English well gets judged better as a sophisticated, educated person. This helps when you travel abroad to English-speaking countries. You get more socially accepted. Is there such a thing as ideally correct English? There is no such thing called ideally correct English because no educated person, even the poet laureate on BBC committee, and the trained speakers will pronounce the simplest and the commonest word in the same manner. What was the confession of G.B. Shaw? G.B. Shaw confessed that he himself does not speak English in the same way because when he speaks to the audience, he speaks very carefully and he would not speak the same manner to his wife at home. What is the advice of G.B. Shaw to the foreign students of English? He said that do not try to speak English perfectly because the native speakers of English will not understand. What is meant by a provincial or Cockney dialect? Provincial or Cockney English refers to the accent or dialect of English that is traditionally spoken by working class Londoners. Try to give the correct word for the Cockney word Bob Hope. The correct word is soap. All copyrights and trademarks of images belong to their respective IP owners and are used under fair use for educational purposes. This brings us to the end of the session. So, today you have learnt about the author George Bernard Shaw and his humorous speech on spoken and broken English, and comprehended the importance and meaning of his speech.